Welcome to our weekly meditation and mindfulness. Let's begin with a meditation. So we can close our eyes and settle into our seats. Find a comfortable seated position. Bring our awareness into our bodies. Start by feeling your feet on the ground, feeling your legs, feeling your connection to the earth, and feeling your hips above your legs. Allow your torso to stack above the hips. Let's roll our shoulders up to our ears and down and back. And align the neck over the shoulders. Slightly tuck your chin and reach the crown of your head up to the sky. Let's take one deep inhale. And exhale and just relax. Breathe. Let's do that one more time. Take a big inhale through the nose. And exhale through the mouth and just let go of the breath. Let go of any stress, any tension you're feeling in your body. Let's just continue that. Continue breathing like that, taking deep inhales through the nose and then full exhales out through the mouth while we sit for the next few minutes. If at any point you feel like letting go of that breathing pattern and just allowing your breath to be natural, you can feel free to do that. Just listen to your body. Do whatever your body asks. You can slowly start to deepen your inhale, bringing your awareness back into the body. When you're ready, you can feel free to open your eyes and rejoin us. So how's everyone feeling today? Good? Relaxed? Thumbs up? Great. Are there any, does anyone have any pressing questions or comments? Anything on your mind you want to talk about? Um, all right, so I sent out that text about inviting you to think about what unconditional love means to you. And so I'd love to hear whatever answers you came up with. What does that phrase, unconditional love, mean to you? There's no wrong answers.
Well, I went to the usual suspects, the dogs, quite a few of them. Then I started wondering, like, if I didn't feed them, if I didn't take them for walks, would they still love me?
Oh, yes. They would.
Yeah, dogs are great for that. Dogs just kind of, they're just kind of full of unconditional love.
Yeah, they're the perfect example of that.
Mm-hmm.
I guess loyalty is unconditional love.
Yeah.
Go.
Hi.
Yeah, animals. I think that's why people are so drawn to animals, is because of that. And I also went to, obviously, my children when I had kids. I think in the beginning, certainly. I mean, I feel so much love for them, and I think as a parent, it is unconditional love. But it's interesting to watch as they grow, and you grow together as a parent-child relationship. The dynamics start to play in, and as much as conscious as you try to be and as aware as you try to be, you're an fallible human, and you're gonna impose your stuff on them, and they're gonna react, and and down it goes down the line. So, but there's that purity in the beginning that's just so like an animal, in a way, like a dog or a critter that just is so dependent on you, and you're just like, there's no barrier. It's just pure. But so that's what I was thinking about.
Yeah, the love you felt from your children when they were young was unconditional. That's what you're saying, just that pure, unfiltered love.
Certainly, yes. You're their world, and then the world steps in, and it's just part of how it goes. And in some ways it's kind of heartbreaking. Like, I remember the first time my son was like 11 maybe, or 12, and he was out with some friends and the friend's parent, and I was walking by and I saw him in the ice cream store, And I walked in and I went up behind him and I grabbed him and I hugged him and gave him, this just tight hug. And he just stiffened when he saw that it was me. And it was so shocking because up until that point, he was so loving and I was like the coolest thing. And then all of a sudden it just shifted. And I remember just holding it together in that moment and going out to my car later and just like crying my eyes out because it was that moment that really, like, I saw it happen.
Mm.
And I felt that shift happen in that moment. And it was kind of heartbreaking.
Wow.
Like,
Yeah.
even though I know that, of course he loved me and stuff, he was just being a 12-year-old boy that doesn't want his mom hugging him in a public,
Public. Yeah.
So
But it's still unconditional.
on my end, certainly. And of course, my kids love me, but it's like, there's all these pressures and things that get imposed upon you
Mm-hmm.
as we grow and in relationship to others. And there's, expectations and things put on you and judgments. And, it's not cool to have your mom hug you. And, it just like suddenly life and our culture steps in. So it just complicates it. Whereas early on, it's so uncomplicated.
Yeah. Well, it's like it's at some point it's socially acceptable for a small child to show that unconditional love to their mother, but then at some point it becomes not as acceptable, or they become worried about what the peers are going to think about that behavior. Yeah.
So unconditional love could also be unrequited love
Mhm.
at some point.
Yeah. Have you experienced that?
I guess probably at some point in my life, but then I guess it wasn't really unconditional because I stopped loving that person.
And it wasn't returned. Yeah.
It took a lot of pain though before I got to that point.
Yeah.
But for a minute there.
Yeah. You unconditionally loved them for a while until they never loved you back.
Right. So I guess you can't really say it's never ending.
But it felt in the moment, it felt unconditional.
Right.
So what exactly is unconditional? Is it just, like love this being no matter what? I mean, what if there's abuse or, I guess I never really thought about it until you asked us that question, and I don't really know what it even means.
Yeah, well, I think, like you're saying, it means that there's love. So, using the example of a parent and a child, that no matter what the child does, even if the child does something bad or wrong, the parent still loves them, right? Even if some rules are broken or there's some unpleasant circumstances that arise due to the child's actions, then the parent still loves the child. And I think in some cases that doesn't happen, right? In some cases so maybe we can define it by saying what it's not. There are some cases where love feels conditional, right? Where, say, a child does something and the parent gets mad and yells at the child, and the child might feel that the love is no longer there, right? If they're being screamed at by the parent, yelled at, or if the child is requesting or seeking solace from from the parent and the parent's too busy or can't or something and turns the child away. That seems how it could be, how the love could feel conditional. You see what I'm saying?
But there's certain boundaries and ways in which you could certainly love your partner and you feel it's unconditional, but then there's, if you're busy or you don't have a certain capacity on some day because you've had a hard day or you have had influences, like I feel like in some ways there's limits to how much you can give out.
Unconditionally love someone. Well, I think there's a difference between the feeling of the unconditional love in your heart and then the behavior towards the person, right? Those can be, or what the person feels from you can be different depending on what they're feeling from you. I'm not sure how I'm trying to say this.
I think you're speaking to actions. Your actions don't necessarily always have to be just dripping in love. Sometimes as a parent, you're going to be
You're gonna have to
not come across as very loving, but you're still have love in your heart.
right.
And I was also thinking about the phrase, for your partner. I'm sure you've heard it, where you can say like, "I love you, but I don't like you very much right now." So you can hold both of those. I feel like, at times, and just that. But love is at the basis of your relationship.
But that's a good question you raised, Gina.
It's been abused. Do they always love their parent? I don't know. I mean, and I think it's different for each person. I think each person is going to, chart a new path for themselves. But I do know of some people that love somebody that hurt them very deeply still. I think it's a beautiful thing when you can do that. You don't have to be around them. You can choose not to be around them. And that's, I think, fine. You can still love them. And so I started thinking a lot about that. Forgiveness. Forgiveness seems to be, kind of interwoven in here.
So with unconditional love comes forgiveness. It's easy to forgive someone you love unconditionally.
It might not even be easy, but if you love them, you'll find a way.
Yeah, that's a good point.
I also feel like you were talking about what someone is feeling coming from you, but sometimes what they're feeling from you is through the lens of their own heart, right? And so maybe they're not feeling enough from you, but that's maybe due to their own limitations or their own pain and anguish and needs. So when you have two people in a relationship, it's like they're both bringing their stuff to the table.
Right. Yeah, that you raise a very good point there, that no matter what feeling we have for another person in our heart, the sensation that they feel from us is dependent upon their outlook on the world, and also their kind of how they feel about themselves, and how much capacity to feel love they have in their hearts.
That's a good point. So someone who's suffered trauma or abuse, I wonder if they have the capacity to feel, what was the word we were just talking about? Unconditional love. Sorry. Wow.
Meaning a blockage of sorts.
Right.
Yeah. Well,
You
that's
know?
kind of what we were talking about last week. Yeah, how when people are wounded throughout their childhood, they tend to close off their heart and put up this protective barrier in order to not be wounded again. It makes it difficult to feel love when love is there.
Mm. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think many times some of those initial wounds that happen are when we don't feel unconditional love, when it feels like the other person has closed off their heart. They're not able to make us feel the love that we're craving. I think that happens a lot.
Coming for you, Matt.
Yeah, so that's one thing, or one kind of topic I wanted to talk about, that feeling when unconditional love is absent when we're growing up. And I had a discussion with someone this past weekend at the retreat, and it reminded me of something my meditation teacher used to talk about how the original wound that many of us feel are when we first incarnate into these physical bodies, right? When we come, if you believe in incarnation or reincarnation, and if you are willing to accept that there's some big cosmic consciousness that we all return to after death, then when we're born, we leave that feeling of connection, we leave that feeling of bliss, and we come into these physical bodies. We slowly become aware in the womb of our mothers, but then we're still connected at that point because we're still within our mothers and feeling that warmth all around us and hearing their heartbeats. But then we're born and we're into the physical world, and all of a sudden we're alone for the first time, right? Physically, we feel this new sensation of separateness that we've never experienced before, or we're not used to experiencing, because we came from this place of just pure connection and pure love and pure bliss, and we go through this traumatic birth experience, and all of a sudden we're alone and we're cold and wet, and we need oxygen all of a sudden. And so my teacher used to say that's like the original wound, right? When all of a sudden we go from feeling connected to feeling unconnected. And then depending on our relationship with that primary caregiver, they can either reinforce the feeling of love. I mean, after that birth moment, through our childhood as they're caring for us, they can either make us feel lots of love, or some people feel not as much love from their parents. And then that kind of sets the life course of the development of that original wound, like how severe that wound becomes as we mature through childhood and into adulthood and start having relationships with people. And so that our original view, that original wound, how deep that wound is, and how much deeper it's made by our relationship with our parents, that kind of colors then all the relationships we have as we get older, friendships we have, their first romantic relationships. And I think a lot of people are still, if they didn't feel enough of that unconditional love in those early childhood relationships, they're really seeking that in their in the relationships later in life. But since so many people out there have those similar wounds, that it's kind of, we all want unconditional love from each other, but many people aren't really in a place where they can offer that unconditional love, just because we've all forgotten what that is, or a lot of us, but not everyone. But yeah, so it's just a lot of us, if we're struggling in relationships, it can be because we're looking to fill that primary wound, but we don't know how to ask for it and how to look for it, and so often we aren't able to find what we need.
it's almost like enlightenment in a way to be able to love unconditionally. It's really challenging because you have to kind of break through that shell a little. But I know for me, like as a young person, just developed coping mechanisms and was very good at, forming the shell and protecting myself and going out from there, and that's, you can't really love unconditionally when you've got, that hard shell around you. So it, in some ways, it is like enlightenment where you can shed all that and just get to the pure gold in the center.
Yeah, but it sounds like you were able to do that with your kids, right? But you're muted.
Well, I mean, consciously, I was aware and tried, but I would never say that I didn't impose my stuff on them. They're going to be on a couch someday talking about their mother. That whole, if it's not one thing, it's your mother. Anyway.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, yeah, most of us are. All right. Well, let's meditate again. And so since we've been, let's close our eyes, settle into our seats. And since we've been talking about this unconditional love, let's try for this meditation to just imagine that we're feeling that in our hearts, unconditional love. Just, you can imagine you're feeling it towards a specific person or people or just kind of the world in general. Whatever sounds like the right thing to do. So let's get comfortable in our seats, get in touch with your body. And then if you'd like, you can put your hands on your heart if that helps you feel that. And then let's take a deep clearing breath. So take a nice full inhale and exhale out of the mouth, just letting go of tension, stress. And then while we sit for the next few minutes, just try to imagine that feeling of unconditional love in your heart. And whenever you're feeling ready, you can once again deepen your inhale, bringing your awareness back into your body. And yeah, when you're ready, you can open your eyes and rejoin us. So, how was that experience of feeling unconditional love? Did you feel it? How did it feel? Any thoughts? Any comments?
I felt, but tried, I don't know if I did it right, but I just visualized my mother and my two sisters kind of in a diamond, just like constantly everywhere, because some of us need it more than others right now. Then I brought my grandmother in.
Awesome. Yeah. Mm. So did it feel? Did you feel the love? Did it feel loving?
It felt powerful.
Mhm.
It felt more light than love.
More light than love?
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. How about you, Gina or Mayumi? Anything you want to share? It's okay if you didn't feel anything.
I guess I just had this sensation of wasn't necessarily visualizing anything as much as I was just really focusing on my heart and projecting out. And so I guess it was more of a warming sensation, shining on me. So I kept kind of feeling these beams of light, which was pretty nice too. Good effect. So.
Yeah. I guess, yeah, visualize may be the wrong words. It's not so much a visual sensation, it's more just a feeling. Did I say
Yeah,
visualize?
I don't. That may have been my word. I
I
don't
did,
know.
I meant, yeah. Well, anyway, you got the right idea. Imagine. Yeah, so you imagined yourself just beaming out unconditional love. Yeah. Cool. Yeah, I think so. After this weekend at the retreat, I've been feeling a lot of unconditional love. It's been nice, and I think like we were talking about that protective shell that we form around our hearts. A lot of that is built up from repressed emotion throughout our lives. Like whenever we have to, when there's situations where we're not allowed to express whatever intense feelings we're having, because lots of times our society doesn't give us permission to experience negative emotions when they arise, especially sadness. Like we're not really allowed to show sadness in front of people in public. It makes people uncomfortable seeing sadness. And so, or at least for me in particular, I had a lot of repressed sadness that haven't been able to haven't like from just throughout my life. I haven't felt like I've been able to express. And so at this breathwork retreat, um, these kind of breathwork journeys or breathwork circles. Do you guys know what I'm talking about when I'm saying that? Have you experienced anything like this? Where it's like a bunch of people come together and they lie down in a circle around a center and just kind of breathe in a particular pattern for 45 minutes to an hour. So that's what I'm talking about. That's what I mean when I'm talking about one of these breathwork journeys. So I've only done a couple of them so far. This was maybe, I think, the fourth time I did one when I went to this retreat. And it's a really interesting experience because for some reason, just this activity of breathing in a continuous manner, breathing, they often teach some kind of breathing technique where it's like a circular breath where you don't allow a pause between the inhales and the exhales. It just has the kind of the effect of taking these big, deep breaths that kind of oxygenate your blood. And for me, I get this kind of buzzing sensation that starts in my chest and then just kind of spreads throughout my body, just this physical sensation from the breathing. And then for some reason, this whole experience just creates the circumstances that allow our bodies to express repressed emotion. Like for some, I mean, it didn't happen to me the first 3 times I did one of these, but this time, just laying there doing this breathing, feeling these sensations come up in my body, just all of a sudden sadness started coming out and crying started coming out, and just, but it felt like a really refreshing release of all this energy. And so I think that practice allowed me to clear out all this repressed emotion. And then I had this kind of unusual experience Saturday night with this another participant um, in the workshop. She happens to be a therapist and a Reiki practitioner, and we were talking about. I was talking about letting go of all the sadness, and she started kind of in on a therapy session, like talking me back to the root of my sadness and just talking back to my childhood, and that just kept bringing out more sadness. And then at one point what she said later was a Reiki exercise. She just put her hand on my heart, and she was doing something, I don't know. I was just kind of sobbing uncontrollably at this moment. And but eventually I just felt kind of the soothingness coming out of the center of my chest. And then kind of the sobbing stopped and the breath just returned. And yeah, I think since it just allowed me to feel this sense of unconditional love just from the universe and from God. So yeah, it was a really profound experience. And I think it's really interesting because this whole topic of breath work is becoming really popular right now and growing in popularity. And I'm sure there's going to be some kind of lower quality stuff that's going to come out, because once something becomes popular, people start getting into it for the money instead of the actual healing process. But I guess I'm bringing this up because if anyone else, like we were talking about, feeling that block, that wall that prevents us from feeling that unconditional love, I think breath work can be a useful tool to kind of access that repressed emotion, start to feel that within ourselves. But like anything, you have to be careful with how you go about finding it, right? Because there are some, there are legitimate practitioners out there, but then there are other people who are just kind of in it for the wrong reasons. Yeah. So any questions about that topic or comments?
Just sounds profound what you went through.
Yeah.
Like a portal or something.
No, it was a really powerful experience of just in just being in this environment where I felt unconditional love. I felt like I could just be myself, and I felt permission to just cry in front of these other people, and it was really cathartic and just cleansing, just allowing myself to feel those feelings and feel like I wasn't being judged for them.
This was the retreat. Remember?
You're breaking up. I didn't hear that.
Oh yeah. Was this the retreat you just did?
Yeah, this past weekend.
And what was the name of it again?
So the people that run it is called Inner Light Revival, and they're based in Boulder, Colorado. But yeah, so if this idea sounds intriguing to you at all, I recommend just kind of Googling it or searching for it, or just kind of putting your intention out there and just trying to find it. If that sounds like something like it might be a useful tool or an experience that might be beneficial for you. So I'm sure there's got to be some in California.
And do you find yourself more in tune and connected with unconditional love?
Yeah, kind of since this weekend, because I haven't been working, I haven't been in my regular routine. It's kind of been driving and allowing myself to just kind of react to the without a real strict plan. And it's been really interesting, just trying to kind of meet whatever arises with unconditional love, and just trying to all the people I come across and whatever situation I come across. And yeah, so it's been a really good week.
I felt a little bit of that for our yoga training. I felt like that month was very cathartic in a lot of ways. And I think, we did a lot of breathing. We did a lot of, moving parts of our bodies and opening up our hearts, and, a lot of talk, of deep talk and sharing and trust that was formed. And I had a lot of those moments of, sobbing and release, and I I felt at the end of that I was in a different place. So I think that this journey, like, there's no end point. I think we just keep on this road, and we keep bringing in these experiences and exploring different techniques and ways in which we can just get more and more in touch. And I don't think, that once you experience it, then that's it, and you've reached this level, and then you go on. I feel like it's just ebb and flow a little bit, and depending on what's happening around us. Or so I just think it's a lifetime journey of always trying to get back to that place. So
Absolutely. And I was thinking about having, you have to kind of replug in to the source. And, our week-long July immersion, I think, is going to be one way.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that.
I also think, yeah, I think this meditation practice, right? That's why we do it, so you can replug in daily or twice daily or as often as you can or will.
Yeah, exactly. But it's nice. I felt the same way after our yoga teacher training as well, as I do now, just feeling feeling lots of unconditional love. 'Cause I felt like we all kind of gave that to each other by the end of that training. We were all loving each other unconditionally. I think Nick does a really good job of just kind of projecting unconditional love.
What about I thought about Mother Earth and land. I do feel loved and embraced by Mother Earth. And so I don't know how you guys feel about it. Sometimes I think a lot of us feel like that, it's neutral. It neither loves nor dislikes us. But don't know, at certain moments I get, just this genuine feel of love.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely for me too, especially kind of going off somewhere in nature alone, away from all people. I can really feel that sense of connection there as well. Yeah. I'm sure you do too, Gina.
Certainly.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I feel like when you're in tune with it, there's so much joy in the earth and in the natural world. They're just, I mean, spring is joy, right? That's just like explosion of everything. And to tap into that is a good reminder that we're made of that too.
Yeah, it's full on spring here in Kansas City. Everything's super green. Yeah, it's really, really just bursting with life, bursting with energy, bursting with prana. All right, let's meditate one more time. You want to do just the same thing? Is that okay? Just imagine that feeling of feeling unconditional love in your heart. Okay, so let's settle in once more to our bodies. Feel our connection to the earth, to ourselves, to the universe. Let's take a big clearing breath. So inhale deeply and exhale through the mouth. Just letting go of any tension. Maybe can you relax your face? Is your forehead tense? Is your jaw tight? Relax your face. Let's roll our shoulders up to our ears and down and back, keeping them soft and relaxed. And yeah, once more, let's just feel that sensation of unconditional love. When you're ready, once more deepening your inhale. Bringing your awareness back into the physical. When you're ready, opening your eyes to rejoin us. Oh, it's getting so dark here in the camera. So I think we always have a choice. I think we can always choose to try to accept the world with unconditional love. You know, like what's stopping us from just accepting everything that happens to us with unconditional love? That's something to ponder about for next week. Like what's getting in the way of feeling this unconditional love? Any final questions or comments?
I think we want everything to be nice and neat and ordered, and nothing is. And so things are messy. And so messy doesn't always correlate with what we think of as perfect or unconditional or ideal.
Right, yeah. Lots of times it's us imposing conditions on what we want to be experiencing. Yeah, we don't want things to be messy or a certain way. So yeah, just keep thinking on that until next week. What's stopping me from just accepting whatever is in front of me, what's all around me? What's stopping me from accepting this with unconditional love? Okay, great. Well, thanks for joining us this week.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody.
Bye. Yeah. So next week, same time. All right. Bye.
Yes.
It's like perfect. It's just like fading.